Let me get lined up and get my chat room up again. There we go. All right. Welcome from the Crossroads of America. Talk show about guns, politics, or anything else that crosses my mind. Answer questions from the audience, either in the chat or by email at rickslifeasiseeit@gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com. I've got a Patreon page, PayPal. All the links are down below there if anybody's interested. And with that, let me, people are starting to drift into the chat. First in this afternoon was Mystic Guns, Rich White, Jason Stewart so far. That's all we got in the chat. So I said, it takes a while for people to realize I'm on, then get hooked up. I think there's a little delay between me hitting go live and actually going live. So anyway, so far, and let me introduce what panel I have at the moment, which is a good one, is I've got New York Outcast. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
And we got Guns and Barbecue.
Afternoon, Rick. How you doing?
Not too bad. Then the one and only Jason Stewart.
Good afternoon, Rick and everybody. Thanks for the invite. It's good to see y'all.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So let's get this out of the way first. I called up that Midwest, what's her name now? Midwest Center for Joint Replacement is their name. They're based in Indianapolis and an office in Bloomington. So I called up to make an appointment with an orthopedic about my hip. When I talked to receptionist, well, they put me on. It might have been a nurse assistant or whatever. I put them on. I said, look, I've already had it looked at twice and stuff, and they want me to lose so much weight. It's going to take me a year and a half to do it. I said, I'm in so much agony now. I don't know if I can, They said, come on up here and see. We'll have a look at it and see what we can do. So I'm hoping because they said they use new techniques in putting you to sleep. So whether that's good or bad for somebody my size, I don't know. But I'm hoping because my argument is maybe I was looking it up. I've put on weight since I've been here, but I haven't maybe, I don't know. I've lost 10 pounds. So maybe I put on maybe 25, 30 pounds since I've been here because I'm eating so damn good now, which I'm on my diet, so that's getting better. But so I wasn't that much smaller or bigger than I am now when I had my left hip done. So I can't see the problem myself. And I really can't. But
I assume the medical, the doctors probably want you going the other way. I know last time when I asked a question on, what your weight was prior to before, because I was, they sometimes, especially when you get older, they start looking at,
yeah, well, that's
quality and is it really worth it? And if you're not going to, it's almost like choosing to work on somebody that smokes versus somebody that doesn't smoke. I mean, it's just one more thing against you is, besides age would be the weight. So,
well, I understand
if you're
that.
not
I
going to
understand
take
that.
full advantage of it, they may not want.
So what you're saying is the doctor's going to play God. Oh,
I'm just stating that's how they do things sometimes. I'm not saying
so what you're saying is
correct or not correct. If you have the money, you got the money.
I ain't going to get one. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I can't speak for your doctor. I don't know, but
that's what I'm feeling from them.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I know they do things like that. So,
but what I was saying is, as of right now, with the weight I've lost, and I looked it up, I had my new hip done in 2018 because I had it done in July, and I moved here in October after that hip surgery, and that was 2018. As of right today, I was 20 pounds lighter than I am now. when I had it done. You know what I'm saying? So I can't see. Yeah, so let me lose 20 pounds and then operate. Then I'll be the same weight as I was in 2018. I cannot see the problem. But I don't know what I'm missing. So anyway, let's see. A bunch of people have joined us now. Let's go through it. I was just waiting for people to start joining. Grim 90s joined us. Gun Loving Grandpa. Ozzy Osbourne's here. Who else we got? Let's have a look. Kingpin's in there. Yep. So far, that's going. And Kingpin's joined us in the chat too. So, how you doing, Kingpin?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me. Good to see everyone today.
Okay. All right. Now that we got in, we're getting live. We got over my little rant there on doctors. But I said I got the appointment on November the 6th.
Well, one of the things that they might have done is treated it more like a triage situation, where if you've got two bad hips, they can't wait for you to lose, I'll make up a number, 50 pounds, because they need to get you operated on now. And then the second one, since it's not both of them, you got one good hip and one bad hip, they can put on more restrictions because it's not super urgent. You know, now you don't have two bad hips.
Okay, I see where you're coming from. Now that makes sense. I can understand where you're coming from. I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
And it could be very well moving from, I mean, you know, just as good as, you know, anybody, Rob probably too, Northeast and Midwest might as well be two different countries. You know, the way they do things in the Northeast and the way they do things in the Midwest are very different, even when it comes to medical practice. Now, the procedure might be the same, but the way they go about it's going to be vastly different.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm running into. But anyway, I got an appointment on November the 6th to see this guy, and if they say the same thing, and I'm still as I told you, I'm still losing weight. Well, even if they do the hip, I'm still going to lose weight because it'd be better for me in the long run. I understand that. So we'll see what they say. But anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know that I did go through with it, and I got the appointment. And my cousin's coming with me because she knows Bloomington or Indiana. We're going. My appointment's actually in the Bloomington office, so she knows Bloomington, so she's going with me. So that's that. Anyway, okay. On to my first topic. It's to do with politics. And I think I put in there blue wave. No, I think red wave or blue. Now, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you got that Republican senator from Nebraska saying Biden's going to win. And why in the hell did we ever believe in a person like Donald Trump 4 years ago? He doesn't know, you know. And I'm thinking, God Almighty, that's really what we need. You know, is Trump winning? What I want to know, because I'm getting nervous now whether he's actually going to win. You know,
I think he's going to win. If it's legitimate, I think he's going to win. And I think they're trying to steal it, and they got to try to compensate it. That guy sounds like the same type of person that thought Hillary was going to win last time. So, I don't know. Yeah, I think like even in New York, in my area, as soon as you leave town, it's Trump signs everywhere. You go in the PA, it's Trump signs everywhere. People are talking about Trump. Nobody cares about Biden, you know, at least that I see, you know. Granted, in urban areas, certain places it may be brainwashed one way or the other. I can't state, but out here in somewhat free, if you could say there's a free area in New York, if you see anything, it's normally for Trump. So I personally think enthusiasm, you know, people are behind Trump, whether they completely like the guy or not. They dang sure don't like Biden. So. Just my opinion. So
I mean, like even here in Indiana, I mean, this is a Trump state through and through. I mean, you see the old Democrat Biden sign every now and then, but they got the Trump flags up and everything in these farmers. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely Trump country here, but I mean, one state doesn't win it all, you know?
Well, it's also Pence's home state, right?
Yes, it is. He was governor here, wasn't he?
Yeah. So that helps.
He was governor here, then a senator for here. So it does help, yes.
One of the things that you got to look at when you're trying to figure out it's a lot clearer this time than it was in 2016, because in 2016 there was Trump signs everywhere in Maryland. I mean, everywhere. You'd find a Hillary sign once in a while, but most of the Hillary signs you saw were like "lock her up" or "Hillary for prison," and Hillary won Maryland pretty handily. So, but now when you go and look at, like Rob was saying, you look at the different signs, then you also look at what each party is representing. And right now, the Democrats are representing Black Lives Matter and burning your city down, defunding the police, and calling Amy Coney Barrett a rapist. You know, people see that. The people are seeing the fake news, like the Savannah Guthrie, what she did during the town hall. There's a whole bunch of people. The woman that was sitting behind Donald Trump, nodding her head, they attacked her. They attacked her, and people see that. Plus, when you go and look at Biden, every video that comes out on YouTube, Biden gets ratioed. He's got 1,000 views out of his 20 some odd thousand subscribers or whatever channel it might be on, and most of them are downvotes. And then when you look through the comment section, if they turn it on or leave it on, it's all Trump people. Then you go to 4 or 5 different YouTube channels. While Trump did 3 rallies yesterday, and the first 2 had over 200,000 people watching on the internet from just the 4 channels that I check out. Now, the one he did in Georgia was a little bit smaller because, let's face it, he repeats the same thing every rally, so people already saw it twice that day. But he's pulling hundreds of thousands of people watching all these rallies. Then, like Rob mentioned earlier, enthusiasm through the roof. Voter registration for Republicans has went ballistically high. More people are voting or signing up to vote as Republican or changing their party to Republican from Democrat or independent. You look at the rallies, Ronnie McDaniel goes down and interviews as many people as she can, and there's 20,000 people at these rallies, and it's not 20,000 staunch Republicans. It's a hugely mixed crowd of independents, Democrats, people who have never voted before. You know, there's all kinds of stuff that leans to more and more people are getting involved. And why are they getting involved? Because they see Trump and they see Biden. And it kind of goes with Hillary. Everybody knew what you were going to get when you had Hillary, and everybody hated that. Nobody really knew what you were going to get with Trump, so we all took a chance. Now you kind of know what you're going to get with Trump, and you darn sure know what you're going to get with a Joe Biden.
Yeah, so I mean, you believe Trump's going to win too?
I think this is going to be, if it was a straight up clean regular normal election, Donald Trump would set a record that would never be beaten again for incumbent presidents, which he already's done. For incumbent presidents, meaning you don't have to go out in Maryland and vote for Donald Trump during the primary. More people went out and voted for Donald Trump than any other Republican or any other president, period, in history, and all over the country, which is a vote that you don't have to cast because nobody was running against him.
Right.
I think they're going to cheat. And I think they're going to cheat at the most epic scale imaginable. And I still think they're going to get blown away.
Well, I'm glad for your enthusiasm, because I need it, because I want him to win, and I believe he's going to, but there's a little nagging doubt in my mind right now saying he's going to lose.
You want me to help you with that nagging doubt? I can do 2 things to help you with that. Stop watching Matt and stop watching Yankee.
I gave up watching Yankee. I don't watch him.
Well, I can give you a little more hope than that, quite possibly. So one thing I'm seeing here is I'm really not seeing a shift. I mean, if anything, I'm seeing more JoJo signs than we've seen Gary Johnson's. You know what I mean? And maybe I just wasn't paying that much attention back then too. That's a big possibility. I'm seeing less Trump flag. I don't understand the Trump flags and all this other crap anyway, but and I didn't understand it 4 years ago. He's a president. He's not a way of life or whatever. I just don't get all this. I don't know, putting a president like that on a pedestal. Different subject. I'll get off that. But I don't see as much of that. But if you electing Trump was kind of historic in a way. And reelecting him, that luster is gone. And it worked the same way with Barack Obama. With Barack Obama, it was super historic. You didn't see as much enthusiasm the second term, the second go around. That's normal. All of that said, if you look at the 45 presidents we've had, only 10 have failed to get reelected. 10. That's better than 75% chance right there. So, if you've got odds makers out there that are giving you, anything worse than 75%, then they're tilted in some way, shape, form, or fashion, because history doesn't tell us that.
How many different rallies? How many Reagan, George Bush, George Washington, Barack Obama rallies did the crowd start chanting, "We love you"? None. Zero.
Well, like I said, that's a totally different issue that I take umbrage with and I worry about.
Well, I think that the MAGA thing, and I've been trying to promote this as much as I could the whole time Trump has been president, is it's not about Donald Trump. This is about us. Donald Trump just happens to be the guy that we've put out there and is taking all the fire. This is about us. Donald Trump is almost irrelevant, not anymore, because his personality, and he likes joking with the crowd, and so he's warming people up like that. But it's not about Donald Trump. It's about whether or not we're going to let these communists take over our country or not.
I don't know. I think for a lot of people, it's about Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's true.
I was just throw in with what Kingpin's saying, and I you both are probably right. To different people, it's different things, but in other chats, besides the gun world and stuff, I come across the same thing where people are stating, it's not necessarily Trump, it's what type of America do you want? And a lot of people, I think, felt like they don't have a choice but to vote for Trump. It's just not as kind of destruction to the American way of life.
Well, Trump screwed up the dynamic, right? I mean, he came in. Trump is not a center right. He may be center. He may be a little center left, but he ain't center right for sure. And so when Trump came in, and then you got all the hate from those that were center left, they moved further left. And so, political strategists, political analyzers throughout history talk about the Overton window, which is that little section in the middle that kind of tilts back and forth, a little bit left of center, a little bit right of center. And when Trump came in, well, they all ran left, so they all left that Overton window is the problem. And the vast majority of people are right there. I mean, I agree with you that in a sense it's not Trump, because it's like, well, which road do you want to go down? Because regardless of the person, you're faced with this potential reality, right? But then I see people that have the flags with Trump with the machine gun on the tank or something, and I'm thinking, he banned bum stocks, right? Due process second, take the guns first, right? He has his flaws, and some people have held his feet to the fire with that, but the vast majority of people haven't. And I think that's part of what scares, and they got legitimate fear. I get it. When you've got people that are centered, not on the left fringe of politics, but somewhere in the middle left, middle to center, then I can sort of get when they see these people that are I've got a Trump Barbie doll basically here. And when he ran the first time, I did memes with it and I did pictures just poking fun, playing around. Once he got elected, I haven't posted. If you check all my feeds, I haven't posted a single picture sitting over there with dust on it. Why? Because it's not historic anymore. He's actually been elected, and we don't need to be that's how you get dictators and crap, is that kind of stuff. You get populists that come in. I said, and then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, we love him. We want him to make all no, screw that. We're a democratic republic, and he is just but one branch and only has a certain amount of powers. And I don't know. It's just it gets into a dangerous thing. So I get where I get the Trump hate. I get some of the Trump hate is unfounded, but some of it comes from worry with those on the left because they see those in the same position on the right. Granted, I'm not in that camp, but on the same position on the right that just eat up every single thing he says, regardless of what it is. It's true. It's gospel. It's smart. It's 4D chess, whatever.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's something. I mean, it's no secret. I'm a massive Trump supporter. I'm MAGA all the way. And I've been looking for the past 4 years for the conversation about Trump's flaws. And all I've got to do is put out fires about the bump stock and take the guns first and all, Russia collusion, all the fake news and stuff that's been around and the nonsense that is unfounded. But he did sign 2 omnibus bills. And the first one he promised he would never do. The second one he did right after he promised he would never do it again. Deficit spending is absolutely balloon sky high. We've got a list of things that I would love to sit here and complain about Trump about, but we spend too much time talking about the fake news stuff.
Yeah, the 2 bills, get rid of 2 for everyone. 2 regulations for everyone. Where'd that go? Well, he kind of started out. He kind of started out strong on that, but that fizzled really quick.
Yeah. And look, we've spent, what was it, March? And March is number 3, and this is what, month 9? So figure the past 6 months, we've spent what, $20 trillion?
Mm-hmm.
That's outrageous. That was our national deficit at the beginning of the year. And since the Wuhan, we've spent almost $20 trillion of money that won't exist for decades.
Yeah, but let's be real about that. And I'm not defending Trump because, like I said, I'm not one of those. I'm not a Trumper. But let's be real about that. That was going to happen regardless of whether it was Republican or Democrat or whatever. And that's the problem is Reagan said we have to set ourselves apart. No more pale, colors. We have to, pale pastels. We have to be bold. We have to be different. We have to offer a different thing. And for years and years, for decades at this point, the Republicans and the Democrats don't offer anything different. I mean, not bold, right? Not like Reagan said. It's not bold. There may be pale. There may be a little bit on 2A here or a little bit on 2A there. There may be a little bit on the economy here and a little bit on the economy there. Maybe a little bit on the welfare state here and a little bit on the welfare state there. But there's no bold contrast like Reagan said had to happen. And like Reagan did, quite honestly. Mm-hmm. And Reagan is not the greatest conservative or president of all time either. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of the Reaganites either.
He done some shitty Second Amendment shit too.
Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest problem with Reagan is when he, quote unquote, unleashed the bull, or was it the beast? I can't remember which one, but he's talking about the American economy.
Right.
He unleashed the beast, but what he forgot to do is keep an eye on all the bankers. Yeah, right. That's how we ended up with the housing bubble and all these other kinds of economic crashes. Right. Is because you let these people run and do stuff, but they were doing crony stuff, and nobody stopped them.
Right, and not to cover for him because it's his signature on this stupid thing, and he should have did his homework and he should have known better. But he was somewhat bamboozled when you talk about gun control stuff. He was somewhat bamboozled by the NRA, and also you got to remember. He got shot. he literally took a bullet. So his perspective, if you take a bullet, what kind of emotional stuff is going on that maybe you're not making the best decisions for freedom and liberty, but you're kind of interjecting the fact that you almost died. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I understand that, but I mean, it's good to hear you guys talk, but I guess I'm a Trumper too. I think it's great, and all these rallies he does. I have never seen any other president do as many rallies as this guy does. He's been doing them for the whole 4 years.
And they're packed. They're packed every night. Every night.
Oh yeah.
He did 2 in Florida and then 1 in Georgia yesterday. And the
Oh,
Florida
yeah.
rallies were like an hour apart from each other. Both of them were jam-packed with the people. And the internet was blown up full of people watching. And like I said, he just repeats the same stuff every rally, and people love it.
Yeah. And I think the one down in Florida, especially with the senior citizens, that's going to make a huge thing for him winning that state.
Well, you guys see the way the news covers it. I mean, he stated it at the first debate there, and that's 100% right. Where anything he does is looked down upon, or they don't cover anything. They're only looking for negative towards him.
No, they've.
So him getting out and being seen, I think, is really the best thing he can do. So I think it's a smart deal. So that's. I think a lot of people that would be in the middle are seeing that as well, even with what's going on basically today in the news, this laptop thing and whatnot. They, from what I see on TV, they make it all about Giuliani and skip right by Biden. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to make a thing out of an extra thing, and it's pretty obvious. I think. A lot of people don't focus too much attention, but if you're not starting to see this, I think a lot of people are waking up, and that's where do you stand on it is getting a lot of people up to do something.
Well, unfortunately, you've got mega sports stars, celebrities out of Hollywood, all bashing Trump, and people for some unknown reason listen to them because they're idolized. I mean, look at that big thing in the paper the other day. J-Lo and what's his name? The baseball player. Rodriguez.
More people are waking up.
Have made their political decision who they're backing, and they're backing Biden. I mean,
yeah, but look at what they did to Kanye West. Kanye West was called every name in the book, and they made a few names up. And then when he broke away from Trump and started running his own campaign, which I'll call it a campaign, I guess he's being serious. He's a whole lot more conservative if you listen to his platform than he is just crazy. But that wasn't good enough. So now P. Diddy had to come out and get everybody back into the slave camp, all the black community back into the Democrat slave camp. Ice Cube went to the Democrats and the Republicans. I can't stand Ice Cube. They both came to him and said, "Hey, help us with this, revitalization packages that we want to do." He went to the Democrats first, and they said, "Wait till after the election, and we'll help you." And the Republicans said, "Hey, we'll help you right now. We already got a plan. Come on in." So a lot of people are seeing these little fine details. Trump says it all the time, and it's effective when he says it. Imagine how much we could have got done if I had a free and honest press and any help.
Right. Oh yeah, because since the second he swore in, they have been on him 24/7, 365. They've analyzed every word in every sentence to try to catch him out and make something out of it.
That's why Trump won this election 4 years ago. We elected him because we were tired of the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bidens, and Trump was such a new wave of energy across this country. And the only thing you can really bring up and complain about him is he hasn't done enough. Name me something that you can complain about that, like, really, truly, in the truth, divided this country or truly screwed over a certain population of this country. He hasn't done anything. He's made this country better. And to put him up against someone as big as idiot as Biden is, come on, man. This is a red tsunami, is what's going to happen.
Yeah, Trump said that too in his thing the other day. Out in the chat, I don't remember he's read it. Ozzy goes, "I just got a raise at work," which got me to look back over the last 12 years. In the 8 years of Obama, I got $1.25 in raises. In 4 years of Trump, I've got $3.50 in raises. So, I mean, there is, and I saw an article, I think it was on Fox, because they're the only ones that report anything, that in a poll, 56% of the country say they're better off now than they were 4 years ago.
Well, Rich White put out a pretty good comment. He said Trump supporters went into Baltimore slums to try to clean up the trash, and the media labeled them racist for doing it. Now, I mean, that made national news, and it was pretty big story there for a little while. But that's the kind of thing that also goes unnoticed. Is for the first 2.5 years, they didn't mind calling Trump a racist. They didn't mind calling him a Russian spy and all these other kinds of things. Once they found out that none of us cared that you were calling him that, they started calling you that. Then it went, instead of the deplorables thing being a one-time gaffe that Hillary Clinton made, it became the narrative now. Now they don't care. Just like I said, it's not about Trump to us. It's not about Trump to them either. They know they're not stupid. They know that a president is in and out in 4 years or 8 years. Trump will eventually go away. But what he's doing is he's giving us enough leverage to push back against all this kind of stuff and see how corrupt it all is. And they can't have us pushing back against them because we're not going anywhere. And we're going to keep having children and raising them in the center conservative, libertarian, whatever, not crazy political position you take. And a lot of people see that now. How many of you want to be called a racist? Rob's a coon. He's a sellout because he's not. He's a traitor to his country. If he happens to have a darker skin tone than I do, so black people hate him now because he has a mind of his own. It's so disgusting, and I'm sorry to keep rambling, but this really aggravates me. The National African American History Museum in the Smithsonian in DC, so that's the biggest of the big. They put out what is whiteness, and on their list was hard work, dedication, being able to speak clearly. I don't know what term that would be, but they said all of that kind of stuff that you would teach your kid if you want to be successful, and they said that's whiteness. There's your white supremacist. The African American History Museum is your white supremacist right now. As long as they keep pumping these people, minorities, whether they be women, whether they be trans, whether they be black or Chinese, keep pumping them with the fact that you're helpless without this white privilege being removed from you. And the only way white privilege can be removed from your life is you've got to get white people to help you do it. That is racist right there. And that's them. So now they reflect all that on us. Everything you say or do is racist, hateful, Nazi, because they don't have anything else. They're compensating for all their shortcomings because they are the racist.
Yeah, there you go. So, hey, Will Arms joined us. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me. Kingpin, I'm fully on with you. I mean, there's so many examples like that. In fact, I looked yesterday and Merriam-Webster now changed the definition of racist of somebody that sees different races and thinks one is better than the other to a complete woke definition. So, I mean, how do you argue with when they're changing the dictionary meaning of racist,
And they did that after Amy Barrett said something in that hearing. She used the term out of the dictionary, and the very next day that term got changed.
Exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And you mean to tell me we're not under attack? This is the one. The First Amendment is way, way more important than any of us even realize. When they control the words that come out of your mouth by changing definitions, by pretending that a riot is civil unrest, by pretending that abortion is women's health care, reproductive health care, they destroy our language, and we
or family planning.
Hey,
I mean,
Well, the thing is, words change definition in a sense over years. That's why when the Supreme Court looks at something, say like with the Second Amendment, how were they using the term, the people or things like that? And they don't look at the modern day usage of it. They're going back to, the 1600s, 1700s, looking at legal documents from way back then and saying, okay, this is how this term was being used back then. So it's not uncommon for words to evolve over time.
yeah, that's the plot. That's the point. That's shall not be infringed meant shall not be infringed the first day Adam put his foot on the ground, and it'll mean shall not be infringed when the last human leaves this planet. They've told you that it changes over time. So when they make a bunch of laws, you go, okay, it makes sense. It changes over time. I get where you're coming from. I get our language and the way we speak to each other evolves, and the way, terms we use and stuff like that, but it doesn't change the meaning of the words.
no. Another thing that I'm getting disturbed about is I'm hearing the media call the Constitution a living Constitution, which means it changes as time changes.
Yeah, a living, breathing document.
Yeah,
so there are two thoughts there. The originalist, and Clovertech also mentioned a different way, but there's the originalist, and then there's the original, people that believe it's a living, flowing document that should be changed and adapted as days change.
That's progressives usually.
Right.
Yeah, and I believe it's originalist. You go back to the way it was written, what it was mean. I mean, good example was during that hearing when old Durbin from Illinois was trying to go on about the Second Amendment being, there being, muzzle loading rifles. They never thought about what we have today. And she said, no, it says to bear arms. It doesn't specify what weapon it is.
You think George Washington was sitting down at the Continental Congress? Not bad if I get names and details wrong. I'm not a scholar. I'm just trying to make a point here. And was like, you know what? We have to make sure that nothing's ever going to change from here on out. These guys were geniuses. These guys were intellect, whether their IQ was super high or whatever. When they sat down and decided to write our founding documents from the first document to the last document, they put every bit of effort they could into making it as understandable and as clear as they could. So we have to take into consideration that we're on the internet. Clover's in Texas, Rob's in New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Washington State, I think New Mexico, Maryland. And we're all standing, it's like we're sitting next to each other talking. You think George Washington could envision the internet? Of course he couldn't. But he knew that human beings would continue to grow and continue to evolve on the planet. That's why that kind of argument is stupid. What about spacecraft? You think George Washington thought we'd have a motorcycle on Mars? Of course he didn't. He probably didn't even know what Mars was.
Private citizens, had essentially warships. They even commissioned, was it in 1812, the War of 1812, that they commissioned pirates? Literally, it was crazy the amount. Imagine nowadays, if we rolled a tank down the street, right? But that's the equivalent. Let's be honest. That's the equivalency of having a freaking warship back then. It really is.
Wasn't there something in the Constitution about those pirates?
What could you do? Think about it. Look at it from an anti-gun perspective, and think about it. If somebody had a modern day battleship, Tomahawk cruise missiles, the whole 9 yards, and was running it up and down the coast, playing around, having fun, maybe shooting buoys out in the ocean. Think about, you could level a city with one of those. And that's the type of things that civilians had back then when they were writing the Constitution. They literally had military grade stuff. Like literally. I mean, they could take on the British armadas with what they had.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the whole notion that, oh, it's military grade. Well, yeah, that's what it was supposed to be. That's the point.
I agree with you. It's just strange. Anyway, we got slightly off my original topic, but it's good. It's good. So I'm feeling better that Trump's going to pull it off on the night. It has his this coming Tuesday is the next debate. So we'll see how that turns out.
I think your major concern ought to be if we have an election results in one day, a month, or before the end of the year.
It's not going to happen in a day. Let's say, because I literally just saw an ad today saying here in Pennsylvania, you have to have your ballot in the mail on November 3rd by 8 p.m. How the heck are they going to get those and count them up?
They're not. And I don't think that should. I mean, well, normally in the old days, they weren't the mail-in ballots, weren't they sort of used if a race was close? Otherwise, they went with what people voted in the actual walk-in votes.
Yeah, but you're talking about absentee ballots and things like that. Now you're talking about the majority of the people could be saying, you know what, I don't have to leave home. I can just mail it in. I'm going to do that. Well, they're not going to sit there and say, well, 10% of the people went to the polling place and, the other 90% that actually voted, which, I mean, only 40% of Americans vote at this point, I think it is. They're not going to sit there and say, well, we're just going to go off the people that went to the polls. And if it's close, then we'll start tallying up these mail-in votes.
Well, personally, I think that's what they should do. Because a mail-in vote is wrong. Unless it's absentee. Unless you requested it yourself. They can verify who you are. I don't think they should be counted.
Well, they claim that basically it normally mail-in reflects normally what's actually takes place in person. So I'm interested to see how that'll play out this year because obviously there's all types of reports of this or that. So we're hearing them a lot in New York. Apparently even fake boxes to drop stuff in different places. So I'm quite interested in how it's going to play out. I bet it's not going to be typical. So but we'll see.
And there's your First Amendment under attack because you should shut up. Stop talking. That's a debunked conspiracy theory, racist. That's how you get treated when you start talking about mail-in ballot fraudulence. Is shut up and stop that. I'm not delete.
I mean, I agree with you.
People got to deny facts. I guess.
There's no such thing. There's little incidents happening all over the country on this mail-in shit, and you add it up, it's one big goddamn problem, and they won't admit it. Now, problem is, as we've said, and I think I figure on here is states like Washington and all them. Ever since they went into mail-in, that they've been Democrat, they've never changed. But where I'm going is they've got the system set up to handle mail-in voting. Some of these states who have sent out hundreds of thousands of ballots don't have the infrastructure to handle it. That's the scary part. That's what scares me about it.
In some cases, they got to go through 2 votes because a lot of people are encouraging you to mail one in and go in person. So just in case, your mail-in gets messed up. So, now, they're going to have to try to juggle through that to see because I don't know how they would know, on the book if you already voted, if he did mail in, and he didn't state anything. So
I don't know either. I don't know how it's going to work. But so you don't think there's going to be, okay, let's go with that. Do you think there's going to be a declaration on December the 3rd evening, late or the wee hours of the following morning, who the winner is or not?
Oh. Well, what if it's a blowout?
Well, that's what I originally thought it was going to be. I thought Trump was going to, what did he take, 304 electoral seats last time?
The media has already covered that. The Democrat platform has already put out their talking points on that. And they admitted that on election night, Donald Trump is going to win in a landslide. And they said, but don't worry, because as the mail-in votes come rolling in, that Joe Biden will destroy Donald Trump. Those aren't their exact words, but that's what they were putting out.
They're making it happen. They're come up with the ballots. I wouldn't be surprised.
Try.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's a warehouse right now full of ballots ready to go.
It's not the vote that counts; it's the counter that counts.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They could be counting them. They're going Democrat. It's going Republican, Republican, Republican. Then they throw them in the Democrat pile to give them the count.
There was that thing where the flash drive that programs machines was stolen not long ago, and a reporter went down to try to talk to the facility about it, and walked in, was standing right next to machines for about 25 minutes before he even seen anybody. So, they're not under the best care. So, and apparently, I don't know if it's true, but a lot of the companies that own these machines gets passed around every election time. So, that's, I think like Ace said, it's who counts the votes. So now with mail-in, there's a whole nother aspect of possible middlemen getting in there. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting at the very least.
I mentioned this before, but what's happening? Okay, let me put it this way: is what's happening today? I put to like that. What you call it? That Captain America movie with the that secret organization. What in the hell was the name of it?
I can't think of it, but I know what you're talking about.
Where he went down the underground tunnel and he was talking about how the Germans tried to force it on the people and it didn't work. So we've had to brainwash the people to now they're asking for us to do it. And that is what's happening today with this country. We're asking to be socialized, to be under control of somebody. That's what it feels like to me.
Were you going to say something, Jason?
Hydra, that's it. Midnight Range got it. Yeah. Jason,
nobody's up in arms about the Patriot Act, the government and everybody's business all the time. So maybe they are.
Oh, yeah. The Patriot Act wasn't the greatest thing either. It still isn't, but I don't know. But anyway, let's hope it all comes out the way it's meant to. And the Republicans will be the winner, which is Trump. And I hope we win the House back. But but then again, we can come up with all this shit but we need to get 60 seats in the Senate. Because without 60 seats, things ain't going to go far unless you can bribe some of the Democrats to vote your way. So even if we win that, it goes back to like it was in the first 2 years of the Trump thing. Why didn't anything get done? Because we didn't have the votes in the Senate. That's why nothing got done. Because the Democrats said we're going to say no to everything, whether we agree with it or not.
And 98% of the Republicans thought that Donald Trump was going to get impeached for colluding with Russia.
Yeah.
The thing, look, Donald Trump already went through this in 2016. After he became president, he petitioned all the states to turn in their voting information, and no Democrat states were willing to do it. Well, remember he claimed there was 3 million illegal immigrants that voted, and everybody was like, "You're crazy." He was like, "All right, we'll open up the books and let's prove it." And everybody was like, "No, we're not going to open our books." All the Republican states were like, "Yeah, here's our books. Go ahead."
Yeah, you're right. So I said I'm just hoping that it works out, that he wins. I really do, because because I don't know. Okay, say he loses. Is anybody going to research it to find out if the Dems cheated? And if they did, are they going to move out of the White House and put the Trump back in?
Nobody'd believe you anyway.
No.
I mean, what are they going to do? Call the FBI? What are they going to do? They're all dirty anyway, so it wouldn't matter. The question would be, what would we do as a public? Just take it, or would we stand up at that point?
My prediction would be that if the Democrats cheat and Donald Trump's like, "Hey, look, they cheated. I've got proof." Some of the Republicans would fussle for a little bit, but let's just ultimately say the Democrats won. Donald Trump moves out. Lindsey Graham will go over to Nancy Pelosi and give her the biggest, dirtiest wet kiss ever and do everything that she said. You'll see the Republicans fold just like they always do, and they'll get in lockstep and do whatever the Democrats tell them. And occasionally you'll get them to vote party lines so they can go back to their constituencies and say, look, I voted against this thing that the Democrats liked and you said you didn't.
Probably kiss the ring.
The Democrats are already planning on, and they've already booked tons and tons of hotel rooms in every big city to house the rioters. So it's going to be a riot, whether they win or lose, but bigger riots if Trump wins. It's just going to be anarchy. There's going to be riots in every city versus just the Democrat cities if Trump loses.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, right now that Project Veritas, they recorded a guy out in rural Colorado talking about beheading billionaires, but just to draw attention to it all if Trump wins.
Nah. Well, I think I believe there will be protests, as they call them, but there'll be riots if Trump wins. I don't know there'll be riots if Biden wins, because that's what they want. There'll be parades and people going out in the streets, with joy because he won.
Yeah, they'll burn cars and call it celebration.
Possible.
Well, no, I just mean anytime something ever happens in the future that they would riot in all across America versus just, the Democrat-controlled cities.
Yeah, but according to the Democrats, once they get back in power, everything's going to be peachy king. We'll be under we might not be under a dictator, but we'll be under communist, socialist rule. It might not seem it at the beginning, but within a few years, you'll see it. Things will start happening. And there's not a damn thing we can do about it, like this. They're going to force us to wear masks all the time because they can't get this COVID under control. They're going to say everybody's got to wear it, and if you don't, you get arrested and fined. And like good Americans, we'll take it.
What happens if everything stays the same as it is right now? What if Trump wins, the Senate stays how it is, and the House stays how it is? What do you think is going to happen in the next 4 years?
Nothing.
Is it going to be impeachment 2.0?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they may try, but I'm not real sure. Trump, the idea of lame duck Trump interests me because at the end of the day, he don't give a crap, I don't think. And so I'm kind of curious what he's gonna say, what he's gonna do. It's I don't know. It's very interesting. Like there's no ramifications of reelection or anything else. And let's be honest, he hasn't really even worried too much, I don't think, about reelection with his tweets and a lot of the other stuff he says and what have you. So I think it's going to be interesting political theater for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, whatever they do, they're going to have to, not like last time, they'll have 2 years before another set of elections come up. So they need to act fast. If they're going to drain the swamp, they better start draining it. If they're going to make any changes, they better get on it. And if they're going to crack down on the media and social media, they better get it done fast, because their enemy is just getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I mean, like that, the thing over the Biden computer emails. I mean, Facebook and Twitter literally doing, banning it. Like the first, fuck the First Amendment. We don't like that story, so we're not going to allow it to happen.
But the FBI had those But the FBI had that hard drive back in December while this was still going on, when the impeachment was still going on, and they just sat on it. So how corrupt is the FBI, or who exactly got that disk drive?
Corrupt. It's been corrupt for a long time. I mean, don't forget, Obama had it for 8 years, and that corruption runs deep in the FBI.
Well, same in the military. CIA. And the military. I mean, Obama fired 800 majors in one day, not to mention all the other conservative generals he purged. I mean, he was a wrecking ball for the military.
Oh yeah. He, a lot of generals right now don't like Trump because he's pulling the troops back. He's ending these wars, and that's another thing he's doing. And he admits it, that the arm manufacturers don't like him either, because if there's not a war going on, nobody's buying their shit. People make millions out of American military contracts, and if we're not going anywhere around the world to fight, what do we need all this stuff for? Yes, we need to keep things current, but we don't need to buy extra all the time because we're losing them overseas because they're getting bombed and everything else.
They don't like them then, because so if they got to depend on the civilian market, they're going to be screwed. Because nobody likes how they treat people. So
Trump did spend $1 trillion replenishing the military. I mean, there has been considerable amount of military spending.
Oh, there has. Because Obama absolutely stripped the military, just like Clinton did.
He also, one of the most disgusting things about it all, they got all the positive stuff about Trump bringing soldiers home, Trump not getting caught up in wars, dropping a bomb here if he has to, but not sending a bunch of troops in. The last time he tried to pull a large group of soldiers out of Afghanistan, the entire government, Republicans included, blocked him from doing it. Now he has to go through some type of stupid loopholes to bring soldiers home from Afghanistan, where we've been for 20 years for no reason.
Yeah. See, another thing, due to the way the government is, with the House being Democrat and the Senate being Republican, but not having enough votes. I was listening to his rally the other night. Thousands of people there. They're cheering him and everything else. And it's great listening to what the stuff he's done. And he's done a hell of a lot. But everything he's done is been by executive order. And the next president can wipe them out with one pen stroke. Mm-hmm. Which is the scary part. Because none of it is, law that's being passed. It's all being by executive order. So the next president can get any executive order written by the 45th president of the United States is now no longer in effect, and everything he's done is over. Boom.
And that's why people need to check their TDS. And yeah, you got some. Don't. You can say that you don't, but you do. Not you, Rick, but in general, most people got some. Why hasn't anything getting done? Why isn't anything getting done? Do you want a dictator? Do you want Trump to be able to run the whole country, or any president to be able to run the whole country the way he feels like it at all times? Of course you don't. You need the checks and balances. And right now, the reason he's got to sign everything in executive order is because Lindsey Graham is a chump. Mitch McConnell is a chump. Nancy Pelosi slaps those dudes around all day long, and we let them get away with it. Where's the responsibility for them? Why aren't any of these people helping him? Donald Trump's got more high-profile Democrats, coming out and campaigning for him. Lindsey Graham's not on the campaign trail. I can't think of what the black dude's name is, the tall black guy that got harassed at the last party. Vernon Jones. Vernon Jones is a Democrat elected to a seat, and he's out campaigning for Donald Trump. The girl that credits him for the hydrochloroquine thing, another elected Democrat, out stumping for Trump. I don't see Mitch McConnell out there doing it. I don't see Ted Cruz out there doing it.
Yeah, you got some good points there. Yeah.
I get I get Ted Cruz emails and text every day, begging for money.
Yeah, so do I. This is an emergency. We need you, and we're gonna match 800%. If you're gonna match my donation 800%, you don't need my money, idiot.
Yep.
Rick, you were talking about everything Trump has done has been by an executive order.
Nearly everything, yeah.
You want to take a guess at how many executive orders he's made?
No, I wouldn't.
184.
What's the average? How many did Obama do?
Obama did 276. George Bush did more than that, 291. Bill Clinton did 364. And George Bush Sr. did 166. Ronald Reagan did 381. And I'll just stop there. You go back. Dwight D. Eisenhower did 484, and Harry S. Truman did 907. But get this, FDR, 3,721 executive orders.
That's what. Remember,
there's where America changed.
Remember, he was 4 terms, but that's still a lot.
Yeah. Also, it was FDR who tried to pack the court too.
Well, and also a lot of bureaucracy that handles things was not created when FDR was there either. I mean, it may have came into existence later in his presidency because he was 4 terms, but there was a lot of bureaucracy that handles a lot of, how do you put this, backdoor executive orders, right? Because the bureaucracy is under the executive branch. And so bureaucracy does bureaucrats do a lot of things nowadays that once upon a time, that agency or that department didn't exist. So it had to be done via presidential executive order, I should say.
Kind of like statutes or something like that would not be a law, but it would be kind of the rules or something that, the ATF makes or whoever.
Yeah.
EPA.
I believe the first executive order was done to paint the White House.
Well, that's one of the things about executive orders is a lot of executive orders are stupid, like what kind of flowers you're going to put in a rose garden. And every time, like, say, just use Trump and Obama. Obama put an executive order for black pens in the office only, and Donald Trump wants yellow pens. So he's got to write an executive order canceling the previous executive order. Mm-hmm. So a lot of you got to look into the fine details. Nowadays, back, maybe from Bush, Obama, and Trump, which one of those executive orders are undoing an executive order? And which ones, what kind of ice cream are we going to have for, the state dinner tonight?
Mind you, talking about executive orders, just a little quick story before I go on to the quiz theme before we carry on. We ain't even got to my second subject yet. Executive orders, Reagan. And it actually personally affected me because I was living in England. I was married to a British woman. Right now, I've always claimed to be American. I got an American passport because my father's American and everything else. My son, because my oldest son was actually, back in the day, he was married out of wedlock, is how they worded it. Right? And when I went to the embassy to register, get his birth certificate and passport and stuff, they denied it because Indiana has always been my home state. And back in the day, Indiana did not recognize children born out of wedlock, believe it or not. And maybe 18 months after that denial, I got a letter from the embassy in London saying Ronald Reagan done an executive order that any child born to an American overseas is an American citizen. They said, come on back to the embassy and we'll take care of you. So I went back, and that's how my son became an American citizen.
Nice.
You know? But I cannot find the letter that I got saying that because my son has an American passport, and if he ever lets it run out, he's screwed because we got nothing to prove that he's an American on paper. You know, unless I guess I could write to the embassy in England to find out whether they got it on record, where it was changed, you know, where it was registered as an American, because we got no paperwork saying it. All he's got is a passport. You know? That's just one of these little things. But my son mentioned it to me the other day. That's what made me bring it up. He goes, I was thinking about this. He says, I don't have an American birth certificate. You know, like I've got an American birth certificate. Actually, it's a U.S. citizen born overseas is what it is. My son doesn't have one. He wasn't given one. He was just given a passport. So, you know, as long as the passport stays current and he renews it every 10 years, he's good to go.
See, if he doesn't have much of an identity trace, he's like a perfect treadstone type of, Jason Bourne.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that, I mean, that's what we're talking about, executive orders, that brought that up. Anyway, real quick before we go on to my second topic is the quiz. Now, the quiz was for a willed and well-armed patch and a deck of Old West playing cards. That's good prize. And the question I asked was, in the books written by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child on Special Agent Pendergast, maybe people misunderstood me. I asked what was his personal sidearm that he usually had. I wanted the make and model and all that good stuff. But I also said in the very first novel called Relic, he carried a different weapon. And I wanted the name and make of that one too. So it was a double question. Well, I only got two answers. And both of them gave me the gun that was used in the first novel. But they didn't give me the gun that he carried. So I don't have a winner. I got no right answers. I only got half an answer. So I was going to let that. Should I just go to a new question, or should I let that one run another week? What do you think?
I don't know. It seems like maybe it might be a little bit of a confusing question, because if two people gave you the same wrong answer, then it might be a little bit too confusing. So I'm cool with both ways. If you want to stick to your guns and make people do a little bit of extra work to get the prize, I'm cool with that. But if you change it, then I support you doing that too.
Why don't you stick with that one, Rick? And if anybody gets it before next week, announce it on Saturday, but then do another one, and you can just double up next week, possibly.
I got a question for you for next time. Maybe ask what the situation was when you almost sunk a bolt in the lock.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll find that on the internet, though. They would,
I'd
but
like to get back to the Rick time stories. I think we're missing some good stuff here.
Yeah. So I can go with that. I mean, I can go with the people that gave me the half of the right answer, two of them. I mean, it's 50-50 shot because there's only 2 entries.
Yeah, but if it's not the right answer, you can't reward the wrong
Right.
answer.
The answer to the question about the first novel, they got it correct, but it was a 2-part question.
Then they didn't get it correct.
You know, so I'm going to let it ride another week.
So you can't be soft on these people, man. If you keep being soft on these people, you'll have a bunch of Democrats watching your TV show, expecting free stuff.
That's what I figured.
They better earn that palmetto sticker.
So we're going to run it another week. I mean, people said my quizzes were too easy. I thought this was easy. You got to do some research. The author, Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child, wrote a series of books about a guy called, I think his first name is Aloysius Pendergast. He's a special agent for the FBI. And I think there's got to be almost 20 books they've written with this guy in them. And I want to know what his personal sidearm is, make and model. And in the very first novel called Relic, he carried a different firearm. And I wanted to know what that firearm was. So there you go. Email me at rickslifeasiseeit@gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com. Get it into me by noon Saturday, Eastern time, of course, the only time zone that matters. And we'll see who wins at that time. So there we go.
Can you say that character's name again?
Pendergast. Pendercast.
You said Aloysius Pendergast?
Yeah. That's his name in the books. He's a FBI special agent, originally based out of the New Orleans office, but then he got transferred to the New York City office. Yeah, I'm giving you half the story. Or I mean, hell,
I thought you said sphincter gas. I'm sorry.
Pendergast. Oh, there we go. So all right. On to my next question, or my next topic that I had listed. And I can't remember what it was. Now, let's talk guns. Basically, what I was going to talk about is, I mentioned it to New York Outcast before we went live, yesterday was the first time since before Memorial Day that I put on long pants. There's been frost for the last 3 mornings on the grass when I've got up and gone out. The first morning, I went out in my shorts and I nearly died. But yesterday I put long pants on, and this morning I had long pants on. But my question is, I was saying, I'm normally what I do, because I get countrified here in Indiana, I wear my bib overalls.
Yeah.
And bib overalls don't have belt loops. You can't wear a belt. So what I was saying is, what I personally do is I change to a Brave Response holster. They have their own website called Brave Response Shooting, I think is the website. And it's like a belly band, but it's got a holster and it's got things in there where you can put up to 3 magazines, or you can put a couple of magazines and your penknife or whatever in there. I mean, that's what I normally wear under my bib overalls. And it's a holster that I can wear, all day. And I used to wear it as an inside the waistband holster when I was in Rhode Island because it's the only one I found that was comfortable, that worked for me. So what my question was, I was going to go through the panel here. I mean, do you change your holster or the way you carry when the winter months come on like this? How are you, New York?
I don't change it much in a sense. I still use the same holsters. Obviously, concealment becomes easier the colder it gets. And like you're stating with bibs, if I'm working outside and it's real cold or something like that, I'll try to have lots of layers, but still accessibility. And basically, I leave the one side unsnapped. So that way I can kind of get in quick, I guess.
Yeah,
so.
see, the worst thing is basically you put your bib on over your clothes.
Yep. Yeah,
layers
and layers and layers.
I wear, I mean, they when I put my legs in them, they're my pants.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. You don't want to be that guy, I guess, with an open bib and everything blowing in the wind. So yeah.
But that's the way you make. I mean, here people wear bib overalls every day. Mm-hmm. They don't wear them over their clothes every day. The bibs are their pants.
Right.
They wear a shirt, but the bibs are their pants. So.
Okay. Yeah. Here in the north, it's just an added layer. Help you keep your clothes from getting tore up and dirty, and help a little bit with warmth. Never as much as they advertise for some reason, but definitely the durability is a plus factor. So.
Yeah. Now, like the bibs do have big pockets. And I would imagine my 380 would fit into one of those pockets, but then I would have to find a holster for it. You know what I'm saying? I just can't slide the weapon in my pocket as it is.
Right.
Have you seen a trigger guard bikini?
Oh, one of those clips that go over the trigger guard.
Yeah, and then it's got a nylon slash that ties to something. So when you pull it, the bikini pulls off, and you got access to the trigger guard.
Yes, I have seen those. That's something to think about. But as I said, I use this. If anybody want to go to the website, it's brshooting.com is the actual website that I got the holster from. And it's pretty nice holster. It ain't cheap either. But it's the most comfortablest holster that I've ever worn. It really is. And I think the backing on it is made out of some special material. So the one that lays against, if you have it, I mean, you can lay it against your skin all day long, and it won't sweat up. It's really amazing.
Is it washable?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Yeah, but it is.
Probably has some elastic or spandex in it.
I never washed it, but I think it must be.
Does it have elastic or spandex in it? Stretchy stuff?
Yes, it's made out. It's got stretchy stuff.
All right. Does that catch in your hairs?
I've never had a problem with it.
It's a serious question.
But I tell you,
sometimes that stuff will pull on your hairs or a shirt or something, and it just irritate the hell out of you. So, and obviously, if it's washable, it makes a big difference, because if you're actually doing work and getting sweaty, I wouldn't want to put the same belly band on it after a week of working on a roof or something. Yeah.
I imagine it's washable. I can't remember without actually looking. I have to go to the website and find out. But where I'm going with this is, the Velcro, it attaches by Velcro. And that Velcro is unbelievable how strong it is. It's as strong as the Velcro on my belt, on my back brace that I wear. It's heavy duty, strong shit. You really got to pull it to get it apart. So I'm just saying I think it's a great holster. That's what I use anyway. And when I'm wearing, if I wear my bib overalls, if I wear a pair of jeans, Now, if I'm going to tuck my shirt in, I'll put the Brave Response holster on. But normally, I always leave my shirts hanging out, so I keep the normal outside the waistband holster. Is what I use. Plus, here in Indiana, if my shirt rides up and my gun's sticking out, as long as I got a permit, I can carry open here in Indiana, so it don't matter. You know? So, on that side of it, which I think is pretty good. So, anyway, Jason, what about you? Do you change the way you carry in the winter months?
No, I can't answer because I don't carry. But
You don't?
no,
Huh.
I live in a peaceful part of the world.
Okay. I was just, each to their own, you know? But I didn't know that. You caught me off guard there with that one. So, all right. No problem.
Sometimes in the winter, though, I put, like chains on the tires of the tank and stuff.
Well, I know Kingpin doesn't carry either, I don't believe.
No, I still live in Maryland.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember. I couldn't. Your state got stuck in my head there. I couldn't think for a second. Yeah. So that leaves that out. Okay, guns and barbecue. What about you?
Heck, it doesn't even need to be winter or anything for me to change how I carry. It's kind of dependent on how I'm dressing. If I want to wear gym shorts or something, I'll a lot of times throw on my concealed carry vest. I really enjoy that as an option. I used to carry with a shoulder holster. Never liked that. I get real bad tension headaches and stuff. But with the way the vest disperses the weight of the firearm, I don't have that happen, which is nice. But I'm also kind of built like a polar bear. As long as the wind isn't blowing, I can be out in single-digit weather for a very long time in just a t-shirt and shorts. If I'm, mildly active in it. So I'm not one to usually have a large jacket on or anything like that. So this is the first year that I've had the concealed carry vest, but I'll probably be wearing that quite a bit in the winter as well. But going back to the bibs thing, because I love wearing my bib overalls every once in a while. I've got a pair of Liberty ones, and they've got the pocket right in the front on the chest. And that actually has a zipper closure and everything. I can actually fit a full-size 1911 in there.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. It's pretty convenient. Because that's one thing I do run into is when I wear my bibs, there's no, like you said, no belt loops or anything in it. Even if you do have belt loops, because I've seen some that do, you look goofy as heck wearing bibs with a belt. And like I said, it depends on how I'm dressing. There's just times where I'm choosing comfort over some other factors, and then that dictates on how I'm carrying. I've got a fanny pack holster that I carry in every blue moon. That's very rare, but if it's necessitated, then that's an option also.
Now, actually, I forgot. I have one. I have a carry vest. It looks like a fishing vest with all the pockets on it.
Yep.
It does have either right-handed or left-handed. It has an inside pocket that has a holster. It's an elastic one, but it sticks in either side.
Yep. I actually laughed the first time I had that. Went into one of the local shops, and the way I describe his shop is he's a bait shop that decided to sell guns. Seems like he's way more into the fishing side of everything, which nothing wrong with that. But not the greatest gun shop. But so I walk in there wearing that vest, and I hadn't been in there since they remodeled, so I just kind of wandered around, and first place I end up is the fish and stuff, and he comes over, he's like, "Can I help you with anything?" I was like, just kind of browsing. He's like, "Well, it looks like you made it to the right spot." I was like, "If you only knew, bud."
Yeah. I said mine looks like that, but I wear that. I mean, in winter months, I would wear that. So I instead of wearing the brave response on the bibs, I could wear that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I have to think about it.
Yep. And one of the vests that I have is more of a Western style vest. Because a lot of times I'm wearing pearl snap shirts and my cowboy hat, all that fun jazz. So that vest goes really well with everything. And the conceal my one that looks like a fishing vest, the carry pocket just kind of loose, allows the gun to flop around a little bit. It's not my favorite, but the one that's Western style vest, it's actually got like elastic holsters in it to hold my guns, and again, I'm always carrying either a 1911 or my 329 PD, so it does a great job carrying them.
All right.
I got a question about holsters. If you want to talk holsters.
Well, hang on a minute. Let me get to Clover real quick with the answer on does he change when he in the winter months what he carries?
Typically, I don't, but I do play around with options, obviously for T&D and other purposes. But I mean, typically no. I mean, I'm usually outside the waistband on the belt, but I don't wear bib overalls anymore. I did once wear bib overalls a lot, and I did pocket carry when I did. And the reason I don't like pocket carry wearing pants is because even with a belt or something like that, it's just too much weight for me. But with bib overalls, you've got those shoulder straps. You know what I'm saying? The weight is distributed different. So it was a lot more conducive to pocket carry. So I usually carried something small, Ruger LCP or North American Arms 22 mag or something like that.
Okay. All right, Jason, what's your question?
I was wondering if you guys have ever tried, like, I don't know, I guess you call it the shoulder holster. Because, like, during the winter, I'm like 24 hours a day, pretty much. I got a hoodie on or some type of jacket. That would be that seems like a better concealed carry for me, especially being a small guy and a full-size pistol as compared to hanging off my hip, because there's no way I could do inside carry. It would have to be, an open carry holster. So what do you guys think about shoulder holsters? Do they bother your neck? Do they wear you out or what?
I've always found myself getting really fatigued from my shoulder rig. Lighter gun would definitely be helpful if you're carrying with one, but yeah, and that's a common issue I've heard from a lot of people that are carrying with a shoulder rig is they get a real bad tension headache because it really strains across the top of your shoulders. As far as carrying it with a hoodie or something, I'd be worried about how you're going to get to it at that point, because it's not just going to be a simple pulling up your shirt and grabbing it or anything like that. Now, if it's a zip-up hoodie, then obviously you just unzip and whatnot, just like a jacket. Then one of the other things to take in consideration, if this is something that you worry about, is flagging people when you go to unholster, and more importantly, flagging yourself. It's not real hard to safely draw from a shoulder holster and not flag yourself. All you got to do is lift that arm that's next to your firearm. That way you get it up out of the way. But a lot of people don't do that, and if you had a negligent discharge, there's a pretty significant artery in your arm that you could bleed out from if you hit that. So it's always a risk, but just like with anything, there's going to be risk. It's just going to come down to training and practice.
I agree on the comfort level. I've played around with a few. Those that I know that wear shoulder rigs claim that you just got to find the right rig more than anything. That being said, I've actually got one on the way, I think, to check out an all leather rig. With flagging yourself and stuff like that, one of the things that bothers me It's whether it's a horizontal or a vertical. I think horizontal is better for a quicker draw, but vertical is going to be a safer position. So with shoulder holsters, and then something else I want to throw out there too. With shoulder holsters, I'm way more lenient, and that's the one I got coming now. I got a company sending me. It's for my Smith & Wesson Model 65, I think. So a revolver, right? Double action revolver. And so I really don't have the option. I'm really not going to have an issue with negligent discharge or anything crazy like that, really, with it being a revolver, I don't think. It's going to mitigate that a lot. That being said, one option that I didn't think of at the time was I've tested out some chest rigs before. And what's interesting about the chest rigs, you think about it for hunting or hiking maybe or something like that. You're thinking more in the capacity of an open carry. But if you have some type of a zip up or even a snap up, and you're able to keep that zipped up or snapped up above that chest rig, it is super quick and easy to get to that chest rig. And it carries, that's what I've got. I mean, I've carried it all through the woods and everything else. It carries very comfortably.
I had a quick question about the shoulder rig, and I guess the chest rig would go into the same category. From my standpoint, I have zero experience with carrying except for the couple of rallies I've been to and practicing around the house. When I think of a shoulder rig, the first thing I think of is a revolver. Like, do people, and I understand Guns said that he carries his 1911 in there, but that's kind of like the same deal, double action, single action type of fire, hammer fire gun. Do many people carry semi-autos? I'm talking about it's not like security guards or cops or nothing, but do they carry semi-autos and rigs like that, or is that kind of designed for revolvers?
No, there's a lot of rigs that are being made now for semi-autos. Actually, if you were to get on an eBay or anything, just start looking up different shoulder rigs and whatnot, you'll see a lot of them with the blue gun shaped like a Glock.
Yep.
Oh yeah, you can get them made now for any semi-auto gun that you carry.
Yeah, see, when I think about it, the first thing I go to television. The old westerns with the cowboys pulling out the 6-shooters and pow pow pow.
And I get the whole flagging issue with the shoulder rig, but we're talking about flagging when you draw. But I mean, if you're practicing your draw and you're doing, again, it gets all down to training and practice. Your finger's not on that trigger until you're on target. I mean, you want your finger on that trigger as you present. And so I'm doing motions like you guys can see me, but as you present, you want your finger coming into that trigger guard and coming onto target. And so if you practice that, it's not like your finger's on the trigger. So remember, you've got muzzle, action, trigger, right? So any one of those is a huge mitigation to safety risk, any one. So, once you're not going to have your finger on the trigger, obviously when you're coming out. So, and then once you get it presented and pointed down range, I mean, it's go time anyway.
Yeah. Also, I've thought about going with a shoulder rig myself sometimes, but what I've looked at, I mean, I got on different websites for them. I mean, I think I'll go for, if I'm going to get one, I'll go for a leather one, but right. I would have the mag pouch on the other side to help balance it out, to help with the fatigue of carrying a shoulder holster, I think, personally. I don't know if that really makes a difference, but I thought if you could keep the weight sort of even, it would be more, you could wear it for a longer amount of time.
Well, the ones I've got have belt straps that come down and stuff anyway. So, I mean, they offset that way anyhow.
Oh, okay.
I got another question about carrying. Because I hear you carriers talk about this stuff all the time. Is it the weight of the gun that you're noticing from, you didn't carry yesterday, now you carry every day, so you obviously notice a little something different in your life? Is it the weight of the gun, or is it whether it be the holster or the shoulder rig or whatever that you're noticing? Because I mean, I imagine some guns are heavy, but most guns that people would carry are probably, lightweight, compact guns.
Yeah, it's all the above. Even if you get, I mean, you're talking about, I mean, take what, even in something small, take 10 rounds of 9mm, and weigh it. And then, get that, put that in a Ziploc baggie and hang it off a belt loop or something, right? You're going to notice that. So, I mean, any little bit of weight, I mean, even it annoys me, like keys in my pocket or too much change or things like that. Even my wallet, I'm always mindful. Not that it's packed full of money. Sadly, it's other stuff. But, I get annoyed with my wallet sometimes just because of the weight. So it's kind of an all of the above answer from me, because it has to do with ammunition capacity. It has to do with the style of handgun it is. It has to do with the holster, not only the weight of the holster itself, but I mean, the composition of the holster obviously is conducive to that, but also the position of the holster. Where is it at? How good is your belt? How good are the pants that you're wearing? If you're talking about a shoulder rig, does it have, like, leather's not going to have a lot of give, but something like that chest rig, it's kind of got some elastic stretchy type material to it. So it has a little bit of a give to it. Plus it distributes the weight differently. It's not, as Rick pointed out with the shoulder holster, it's not one-sided. That chest rig is centered in your chest, so a little bit different. It's all of the above for me, man, unfortunately.
Well, David, like you, just carrying at the rallies or some of the open carry I've done a little bit and around the house or friend's house or property, I never noticed the weight. Carrying it wasn't an issue. I banged that gun's, grips and stocks off of every single thing you could. Walking by stuff, sitting down, chairs, tables. That's the only thing I noticed is I just beat my gun around on everything. But I never really noticed the weight.
Yeah, see, I don't carry anything in my pockets, and I guess I carry a book bag with me everywhere I go, so I guess that's my purse. But unless I have to have something in my pocket, the only thing I ever have in any of my pockets is my knife. So that having that gun on at the rallies, 5 minutes after putting it on, the Pennsylvania rally I went to, midnight, and I walked from the parking garage to the rally together. And by the time it was maybe 2-3 blocks, maybe. By the time I got to the Capitol building, it was like I didn't even have the gun on me, but I wasn't walking through doors and all that kind of stuff, so I could see what you're talking about, it banging into stuff.
Well, I noticed if you're going to carry, I mean, especially if you're going to carry on the waist, you need a good belt.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're talking. I mean, there is a difference between a thick leather belt and a thick gun belt. Mm-hmm. There is a difference.
Yeah, especially one that's reinforced with either metal or Kydex. Huge difference.
And I said when I first started carrying, I used to carry the M&P 45 full size. And yeah, for the first week or so, I noticed it. I knew it was on my hip. I could feel it there. But after months of doing it, even with my outside the waistband holster, or even that Brave response post, after a while, you just forget it's there.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you that I can switch up, because I mean, sometimes I'll carry something big, huge, full size, whatever, just because I can, and I could carry that around, go to town, mill around for several hours, and by the time I get back home, I'm used to a primary carry is that Glock 42. It's light, it doesn't weigh near as much as a full size 1911 or a Beretta 92 or the CZ 75 or something like that, all metal frame. And I tell you what, my hip notices the difference after several hours of carrying that around for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like that 380 EZ I carry now. After that 45, that's so light, I forget I have it on.
Right.
Yeah, like for me, I mean, I already told you guys what I would normally carry. All those guns are mid 40 ounces. Then I got my 329 PD, and I was like, oh my God, why have I been carrying around these friggin' giant paperweights? But then every once in a while, I'm like, you know what? I feel like carrying my 1911 today, and I'll go put it on. I'm like, why the frick did I choose this?
Hey, I lost my power. I got back on. Can I talk about my carry real quick?
Yes, I was going to get to you. Yeah. So, do you change up in the winter months?
No, I carry year-round Sneaky Pete. It's a box holster that fits on my wheelchair. I've got like a little Kydex T that hangs on a bracket, and it just goes right in the right corner in the front of my wheelchair on the outside, and just kind of hangs down. And I've got one that says battery power pack. I also have one that says outdoor gear, and another one that says first aid kit. And then I got the black leather one and the brown leather one. So they're made for different size guns. And there's a brand name called Sneaky Pete, and they're pretty incredible. I mean, you just hide it in plain sight, is what I say. But
yeah, so I mean, when you carry, you actually carry on your wheelchair. You don't use a shoulder holster or chest rig or anything.
No, you can't use a shoulder holster because it'd be under your arm, and you know I'm in the manual chair, so you can't really push and have something obstructing your armpit or side of your arm. Because
I didn't even think of that. Yeah. Good point.
I love the fact that you're in a manual wheelchair with a holster that says battery pack.
No, nobody questions it. Nobody. Yeah, I was wondering about that. You know, when I got it, I was like, "That's pretty funny." That I'm wondering if anybody's going to laugh about it or see the irony in a manual chair with the battery. But
do those ones do they hook onto that manual? I mean, that battery chair that I saw you going through the woods on.
Well, with that thing, I can carry anything I want on that thing. It's so big. So I don't have a Kydex clip, but I have a fanny pack in that thing. So I can it'll hold, a full size pistol, no problem.
Oh yeah, I mean, like when I go to Walmart and I'm using my scooter. I mean, it had an armrest, but they go up and down. So what I normally do is I'll put the right one up because that's where I carry on my hip or interfere with me in case I have to draw it. So, all right.
Yeah, I have that another smart drive that I put on my manual chair, and it powers me like when I'm in Las Vegas. And I was actually, planning on going out for dinner, so I put my Sneaky Pete holster on that said battery pack, and that was the only time somebody's ever mentioned that. And she was like, "How does that battery pack connect to your smart drive?" And I'm like, "Oh, there's just a little wire running underneath the chair." That's the only one. That's the only time somebody ever noticed or questioned it. And funny enough, it's probably the worst place to carry would be in a casino.
Yeah. Can you carry in a casino in Las Vegas?
I don't think so.
Yeah. But see, a lot of these places that say no guns allowed. I mean, unless there's a metal detector or a policeman there to frisk you down or whatever, I don't pay attention to it. I walk right on in. If it's concealed carry, how are they going to know I got one? So
I just assumed, with people getting emotional, losing a lot of money, they'd say no carry. But you're right, there are no, metal detectors or searching or wanding.
Problem with a casino is there's eyes everywhere looking for all kinds of things. So if you get the least bit of, and I mean, obviously, if you've got it in some kind of a hidden compartment on a wheelchair or something, that's one thing. But if somebody's carrying and they move or bend just right or anything like that,
Yeah, I mean, because as you said, they got cameras everywhere. They're looking after their money.
Oh yeah. They're watching hand movements. They're watching all kinds of little things. I mean, they're watching there's ways you can cheat casinos with, digital devices and RF, modulators and all kind of weird things. And so they're looking for people carrying all kinds of stuff, not just firearms.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, the only time I pay attention to not carrying is when my doctor's office says no weapons allowed. And I don't carry in there, not because the sign's up there. I don't carry in there just in case he says drop them and wants to grab hold of my nuts and go.
I worry about, and this probably is an unrealized fear because I really haven't dived into it too much, and I'm definitely not a scientist, even though I play one on YouTube. But back when they were opening up carry on college campuses and stuff here, they set restrictions where they said that, like in the medical facilities and the science labs, the individual universities could have control over that. Like common areas, they couldn't, right? Like in the dorms and the cafeterias and the common areas. But in like science labs, medical labs, things like that, they could set restrictions. And it got me to thinking about certain medical equipment or scientific equipment and magnetism and radio waves and frequencies and other things. That it's like, could that make a round go off? I don't think so, because I know how the principle of a cartridge works, but it's like, man, I don't know.
I've never even thought about that, to be honest with you, because I wear mine into, like, if I got to go into the hospital and stuff, I wear it.
Yeah. Well, like, microwaves are a weird thing, right? I mean, throw a hot pocket in your microwave for Pete's sake. And the outside, the inside's frozen, and or the inside will be either frozen and the outside is burnt to a crisp, or the outside's frozen, the inside's lava, So microwaves and things like that are weird things. And it's like, what if there's something in one of those places that's generating some kind of microwave that, because that firearm is metallic and because of the properties of the primer, or some weird something, just, I don't know. It's probably unfounded, but
yeah, because then,
I think something's wrong. First off, if you're in a place where there's that much magnetic energy or pull or something,
right,
it's probably not helpful.
I'll concede that. There's probably nothing you're not going to feel, when it gets to that point, but I don't know, something about all that's always freaked me out.
Yeah, also they've done the same thing when cell phones first came out. They didn't want you to use them in hospitals and stuff.
Well, the shielding back then, the shielding wasn't as good when those first came out as it is now. I mean, a lot of the cell phones and stuff now, which really would do a whole lot of good if there was an EMP because of all the other damage that it would cause. But a lot of the electronics now are shielded from at least a certain amount. If you were at the epicenter or something like that, it probably wouldn't help. But if you were blocks or for sure miles away, electronics now are shielded on like the microchip level. I mean, it's not like they have a protective shell on them or something like that. But at the microchip level and stuff, they're shielded for EMP and things like that. Nowadays, used to not be the case, and so a lot of the things about getting cancer or getting something from the radio waves into your head while you're talking and things like that. They've mitigated a lot of that with technology and stuff nowadays, unlike they used to. But it was more an issue of, if that device, again, you're in some type of a scientific facility, medical facility, and that device is emitting some kind of frequency or signal, however mild it might be, that equipment is picking up on. I mean, you could screw up years of scientific research, years of medical data studies, whatever. So, it makes sense in that case, it makes sense to err on the side of caution. That's a lot more plausible scenario than it making your gun go off or setting off a cartridge.
When Nokia and Ericsson, were the world leaders in phones, Swedish and Norway made phones much, much safer, and the rest of the world had to follow their lead.
No, Club, you brought up something that kind of made me think, and I'm going to have to call my brain surgeon now, because I have a pump hanging out the side of my head. It's under the skin and everything, so don't freak out, anybody. If you ever meet me, you're not going to see some weird pump just pumping brain fluid. But it works on a magnet. And now I'm kind of wondering, if we did suffer an EMP, because I can't get MRIs or anything now because it's all done magnetically. And if I had an MRI, it would reset my pump.
Interesting.
Man,
So I'm kind
oh, you're breaking
of
up.
wondering now if we did suffer a major EMP, if that could then mess with my pump and fry it or anything like that, make it stop working. Is that better?
Yeah. Well,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
Well, a lot of people too, man, it's like a lot of things. A lot of people hear EMP and they think movies, right? They think they detonate one thing and it completely shuts down a city or something like that. And it would take multiple EMPs. It really would, because you got to realize that pulse, buildings are going to disrupt it. Trees, shrubs, things like that are going to disrupt it. So, I mean, there could be a fairly significant EMP, and less than a mile away, depending on what's in between you and that EMP, you might not suffer any damage.
Yeah. Midnight Range in the chat there, Gun, said, did he just robot out talking about radio waves scrambling in his brains?
Yeah, I think he did. He had internet problems earlier, though, didn't he? Say he had internet issues.
Yeah. Well, anyway, guys, you got anything else you want to talk about? Or we start? It's almost 5 o'clock.
Hello.
And we can always make a minute for a while.
Yeah.
I've got a topic for next week if you want an idea for next week, Rick.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm right. I'm going to be ready.
All right. So, what about changing your caliber in the winter? I know some people worry about, people bundling up, wearing more layers and heavy jackets and things like that. So they choose to carry a heavier caliber. So maybe we could go over that next week.
Okay, yeah, I just written that down. That's not bad. Because if you're wearing 5 or 6 layers, is my 380 going to get through that? So good point. Good point. So. All right, let's wind this up. You got any New York Outcast? You got any plugs or shout outs you want to do?
No, just thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate the invite, and everybody be safe.
All right, I appreciate it. The only reason I'm going real fast here is my cats are sitting here. They're getting hungry. It's 5 o'clock time. Jason Stewart, you got anything?
Thanks for the invite, Rick. Good show as always. And I'll leave you with elbow bump.
Yeah. I tell you what, Squib Stew uses that at the end of his videos. It cracks me up all the time. Have you heard him when he does his videos?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We don't do the handshake anymore. We do the elbow bump. F you. Kingpin, you got anything?
Oh, yeah, great conversation. Time flew by. Appreciate everybody for being here. Check out the Outlaw Hatfield's channel later tonight. Him and Rich White do a classic wrestling show where they talk about all kinds of different varieties and aspects of old school wrestling, not the garbage that's out there now. But back when wrestling was fun, and believe me, it might sound like, oh, that's stupid, but if you get in there and mess around in the chat room, it's actually a really, really good chat.
All right. Willed and well armed.
Thank you, Rick, for having me. And no, nothing this week, but appreciate being here and great stimulating conversation as usual.
All right, appreciate you being here. Guns and Barbecue. Anything?
Yeah, I'm starting a video series called "What is a blank?" Then whatever I choose to put after it. I'm designing it to target new firearms owners. Just kind of provide some education about different firearms, different things about them, whatever else. Anybody that watches them that is a seasoned gun person probably going to find them to be rather boring. Like, yeah, great, I knew all this. And like I said, it's not designed for that audience. It's designed for the 5 million new gun owners that we have. So one, if you do happen to catch those videos and you have any critiques or suggestions, I would love to hear them. And if you know any new firearms owners, please point them in my direction so they can check it out, maybe learn something.
All right. I did see that one you put out. I sat there and watched it. So it should be a good series. But I want to know what's the difference between a gun, a firearm, and a pistol.
Ultimately, nothing.
Anyway, Clover, you got anything to close out with?
I don't, Rick. Thanks for the show. It's been fun.
I appreciate it too. I'm glad you can make it for the second week. All right. I want to say thank you to the audience for being here and participating in the chat. I really do appreciate it. And I'll be back on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And hopefully the host of the show, Patriot in the Dark, will actually come into the chat and not just in the chat room. But all right. I will see you all then on Wednesday. So I want to say thank you again for being here. I really do appreciate it. And see you all later.
Good night, Sabrina.
Yeah, you did it.